911, what's your emergency?
9 years of silence. One DNA match. The murder of Faith Hedgepeth finally revealed its suspect. Faith Hedgepeth was 19 years old, a sophomore at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She carried the weight of promise, the first in her Lumbee Native American family to pursue a college degree, with ambitions of becoming a pediatrician. Friends described her as bright, determined, and deeply compassionate. Her life was a blend of academic drive and social warmth, a young woman balancing studies with the rhythms of campus life. On the evening of the 6th of September 2012, Faith joined her roommate, Karena Rosario, for a night out. The two young women headed to The Thrill, a popular nightclub in downtown Chapel Hill. Surveillance footage later confirmed their arrival just after midnight. Inside, the atmosphere was typical of a college town club. Loud music, crowded dance floor, neon lights cutting through the haze. Faith was seen dancing, smiling, and mingling with friends. But beneath the surface, tension lingered. Karena had recently broken up with her boyfriend, and witnesses recalled arguments and unease between them earlier that week. Faith, protective of her roommate, stayed close. Around 2:30 a.m., Faith and Karena left the club together. Cameras captured them walking back toward their apartment complex, Hawthorne at the View. The night air was heavy, the streets quiet. They returned to their off-campus unit, a modest space shared by students. Faith settled into her bedroom, while Karena exchanged messages with friends. The apartment was still. Faith lay down to rest, unaware that the hours ahead would unravel into violence that would shock her family, her campus, and the nation. Karena left briefly with another friend around 4 a.m., leaving Faith alone inside the unit. What happened in those hours remains the most chilling part of the case. When Karena returned later that morning, she discovered a scene of violence that would haunt Chapel Hill for years. Faith was found in her bedroom, her body covered in blood. The brutality was unmistakable. She had been bludgeoned repeatedly with a Bacardi rum bottle, the glass shattered and stained. The force of the blows left catastrophic injuries. Near her body lay a fast food bag, scrawled with a crude message, "I'm not stupid, BC jealous." The handwriting was jagged, angry, and became one of the most puzzling pieces of evidence. The apartment bore signs of struggle. Furniture was disturbed, bedding soaked in blood, and the walls marked with spatter. Detectives sealed the scene, photographing every detail, placing numbered markers across the room. The rum bottle, broken and bloodied, was collected as the murder weapon. Faith's final hours had unfolded in terror. The intrusion was not random chaos, it was deliberate, violent, and deeply personal. Detectives from the Chapel Hill Police Department arrived quickly at the Hawthorne at the View apartment. The crime scene was sealed. Yellow tape stretched across the doorway, and forensic teams began their meticulous work. Every surface was photographed, every item cataloged. The rum bottle, shattered and bloodied, was collected as the murder weapon. The fast food bag with its crude handwritten note was preserved as potential evidence of motive or identity. Faith's bedding, clothing, and personal items were bagged for DNA analysis. Investigators interviewed Karena Rosario, who had discovered Faith's body. Her account of the night leaving the apartment briefly, returning to find the scene became a critical timeline marker. Detectives also questioned neighbors, searching for anyone who had seen or heard suspicious activity in the early morning hours. Faith's phone records revealed late-night calls and texts, including attempts to reach a male friend. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex showed movements of individuals entering and leaving, but none clearly identified the killer. The FBI was brought in to assist with profiling. The brutality of the attack suggested rage, possibly jealousy. The handwritten note hinted at resentment, though its meaning was cryptic. Detectives pursued leads involving Karena's ex-boyfriend and other acquaintances, but DNA evidence excluded them. The autopsy confirmed the cause of death: blunt force trauma to the head, consistent with repeated strikes. Faith's injuries indicated she had been attacked while asleep, caught off guard, with no chance to defend herself. Despite the evidence collected, the investigation stalled. The DNA samples were preserved, but no immediate match was found in national databases. The case grew colder as months passed, leaving Faith's family and community desperate for answers. Months turned into years, and the murder of Faith Hedgepeth remained unsolved. Detectives had preserved the DNA evidence collected from the crime scene: semen, blood, and trace samples from the rum bottle and bedding. These samples were uploaded into national databases, but no immediate match surfaced. In 2016, investigators took a new approach. They worked with a company specializing in DNA phenotyping, which could generate a composite sketch predicting physical traits based on genetic markers. The sketch suggested a male of Hispanic descent, with dark hair and eyes, likely in his 20s. It was released publicly, accompanied by appeals for information. The sketch reignited interest in the case, but leads were scarce. Detectives re-interviewed witnesses, revisited surveillance footage, and combed through phone records. The note found at the crime scene, "I'm not stupid, BCH jealous," was analyzed repeatedly. Its crude handwriting compared against suspects. Still, no definitive match emerged. Faith's family endured the weight of uncertainty. Each anniversary brought vigils and renewed calls for justice. The case became a haunting reminder of how forensic evidence could hold answers yet remain silent without a match. Detectives refused to let the trail go cold. They continued to submit the DNA into updated databases, waiting for technology or fate to deliver a breakthrough. Nearly 9 years passed without an arrest. Faith Hedgepeth's case lingered in the public eye, but investigators had little more than DNA evidence and a composite sketch to work with. Each anniversary brought renewed calls for justice, yet the killer remained unidentified. In September 2021, the silence finally broke. Detectives announced that DNA collected from the crime scene had matched a man named Miguel Enrique Salguero Olivares, 28 years old, living in Durham, North Carolina. His profile had entered the database after unrelated charges, and the match was immediate and undeniable. Investigators confirmed the link by obtaining a fresh DNA sample directly from Salguero Olivares. The results aligned perfectly with the evidence preserved from Faith's body and the apartment. The breakthrough was the culmination of years of persistent forensic science had finally delivered the name behind the crime. Salguero Olivares was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. His connection to Faith was tenuous. Detectives believed he had encountered her through social circles but had no close relationship. The motive remained speculative: jealousy, rage, or opportunism. For Faith's family, the arrest was both relief and heartbreak. The man accused of killing their daughter had lived freely for nearly a decade while they waited for answers. The case, once cold, was suddenly alive again, moving toward trial. Prosecutors prepared for a trial that would lay bare the forensic details of Faith Hedgepeth's final hours. Court documents revealed the brutality of the attack. Faith had been struck repeatedly with the Bacardi rum bottle, her injuries catastrophic. The autopsy confirmed blunt force trauma as the cause of death. Consistent with rage and repeated blows, the handwritten note found beside her body became a centerpiece of the prosecution's argument, a chilling glimpse into the killer's mindset. Prosecutors built their case on 3 pillars: DNA evidence. Salguero Olivares' genetic profile matched semen and blood samples collected from Faith's body and bedding. The murder weapon. The rum bottle carried both Faith's blood and the suspect's DNA. The timeline. Witness accounts and surveillance footage placed Faith at home during the hours Salguero Olivares was believed to have entered the apartment. Defense attorneys countered by questioning the reliability of DNA phenotyping and suggesting mental instability. They argued that Salguero Olivares' state of mind at the time of the crime undermined the prosecution's claim of intent. The courtroom atmosphere was heavy. Faith's family sat silently, listening as forensic experts described the evidence in clinical detail. Parishioners and classmates filled the gallery. Their grief, visible as photographs and testimony, recounted the brutality of her final hours. Salguero Olivares' demeanor was detached. At times, he stared blankly. At times, he muttered under his breath. His lack of remorse became part of the prosecution's narrative. This was not confusion or accident, but deliberate violence. As of late 2025, the trial remains in progress. The evidence is overwhelming, but the final verdict has yet to be delivered. Faith Hedgepeth's murder left a wound that stretched far beyond the walls of her apartment. For her family, friends, and the University of North Carolina community, the loss was not only personal but symbolic, a reminder of how fragile safety can be, even in places meant to nurture growth and learning. Her family worked to preserve her legacy. Faith was proud of her Lumbee heritage, and in her honor, scholarships were established to support Native American students pursuing higher education. Her writings, photographs, and personal items were collected, serving as reminders of her ambition and compassion. Professors remembered her as a dedicated student. Classmates recalled her laughter, and her family spoke of her dream to become a pediatrician. On campus, vigils became annual rituals. Candles lined the steps of St. Thomas More Catholic Church. Prayers were offered, and her name was spoken with reverence. Each anniversary brought reflection not only on the crime but on the resilience of those who carried her memory forward. Nationally, the case became a cautionary tale. Commentators pointed to the randomness of her killer's intrusion, the vulnerability of student housing, and the importance of forensic science in solving cold cases. Scholars dissected the investigation, noting how DNA evidence, preserved for years, ultimately delivered the breakthrough. Documentaries replayed the timeline, sharpening the question, how could a young woman of promise be murdered in her own home? For her community, the answer was found not in despair, but in resilience. Faith's story became a symbol of endurance, of a family's refusal to let her memory fade, of a university's commitment to honor her life, and of a community's determination to heal. The legacy was twofold: justice delivered in law, and memory carried in spirit. Faith Hedgepeth's name endures as both a marker of caution and a testament to strength. The case closed with an arrest, but the grief, the questions, and the lessons remain.